Hey, good people, how you doing? David Taub here, co-creator of NextLevelGuitar.com. Hope all is well, and I hope your guitar journeys are going famously. And today we have a video on the 13 most common beginner guitar mistakes. So I compiled the list, and I pulled this from my years and years of teachings. And I've taught thousands and thousands of students all over the world, both privately and online through our website and through our YouTube channels. And I see a lot of the same mistakes over and over again that really hold students back, especially beginner students. And you might want to peruse through this list, and maybe there's a couple things you could take into consideration that will make your guitar journey a little bit more flowing, maybe a little quicker and a little bit easier, right? Because we're here to help. So I thought I would go through the list. They're in no particular order. These are a lot of the common threads I see where students, especially beginners, can make some improvements. One mistake I see often is students don't have the right sized instrument for their hands, for their bodies. And that's so important when picking out a guitar at first. You just don't want to grab anything. It's so important that you get the right size instrument, one that fits your body well, one that, fits your hands really well. There's so many different shapes and sizes, especially when dealing with acoustic instruments. And a lot of players at first, they start with acoustic. So you want to make sure you get the right size instrument that's comfortable, one where the action, the strings aren't, an inch or two above the fretboard, like you could drive a truck underneath the strings. You want to make it as easy as possible for you in the beginning, because it takes some time to get over the physics of the instrument and, building the calluses up on your fingertips and getting your fingers to bend in these chord shapes. These things take time. And if your instrument is fighting you because it's the wrong size, it's going to make it that much harder. So make sure you have the right sized instrument. Another mistake with students is they have no structured plan. They have no formal way of going through the steps, especially early on in beginner guitar, that's going to lead them to the point where, they can play songs, or where they can get together and jam with other people, or they can write their own music, whatever the goal might be. But you really need a structured plan with identifiable goals, that has practice routines outlined. You should have routines so you're practicing the right things. And often this is where I see the wheels come off the track. It's students just practicing anything or going through these drills that really don't have that much value. So it's really important to have that structured plan. And if you need help with that or you don't have one, we have a structured plan on our online guitar curriculum, or you want to look into some courses at your local, college, or community, or looking through some online tutorials, or something that has a very structured plan. Get some referrals for a qualified private instructor, or find out who you connect with chemistry wise with an instructor. But whoever it is, you should be getting this plan of attack that's going to take you through the instrument and get you to your goals. Another mistake I see often with the beginner student is there's too much emphasis put on songs, right? Don't get me wrong, songs are important, and it's important to learn songs for sure, and it's fun and all that goes with songs, but you don't want it to be just about songs. I'll give you an example. A lot of times if you're looking for a private teacher, you might call up some different private teachers, and one of the things they might say is, okay, bring me a list of songs and I'll start teaching you some songs. If you hear that, you probably want to shy away from that teacher, because that's not the best way to learn guitar. You want to learn how to play the instrument. You want to learn the techniques, the devices, the correct, fret hand and pick hand techniques, and you want to learn how to play the instrument, and therefore eventually the goal would be to play any song, right? You want to be able to put a piece of music in front of you, whether it be something, a tab you found online or from a book or whatever. You want to be able to play anything, right? Not just learn one song, two songs because you're memorizing by rote memory. Okay, I'll do this, then this, and this. Songs are fun. Songs are great. We all want to learn songs, but instead use them as a vehicle to practice your strumming, to practice your chord changing, to practice your rhythm, right? And in the process, you learn the song. However, the song is not the goal itself, right? A lot of times, just too much emphasis on song. So remember, learn the instrument. The songs will come, believe me, and you'll get to the point, if you follow a structured plan, you'll get to a point where you can play any song, right? That's the goal. Another mistake I see by guitar players, especially beginner guitar players, is a lot of negative thoughts. Like I get a lot of emails from students all over the world, and they say, I don't think I could play guitar because my hands are too small, or I don't think I could play because I have no rhythm, or I have no musical ability whatsoever. you have to wipe all that out, right? You have to wipe out all the negative thoughts because none of those things are relevant, right? If you have a good teacher, if you have a good structured plan, you'll be able to play. I've taught 8-year-old kids how to play bar chords. Okay, I've taught people with small hands how to play guitar. It's not gonna keep you from playing the instrument. So you have to erase all those thoughts. Oh, I don't have a rhythmic bone in my body. That's okay because you'll learn, and you'll learn the proper way of strumming, learning the proper way of rhythm, playing with a metronome, and all those things that will really get your rhythm dialed in. So a big thing is stay positive. I'll be honest with you, the guitar is a challenging instrument. The learning curve at first is very steep because a lot of it is getting over the physics of the instrument, getting your hands to bend into these positions of playing chords, and you'll be taking your fingers and like moving them. Because it's like, man, I have no control over my own hand. What the hell, right? But believe me, it will come. It will come with time. But if you stick with it, after a while, the curve starts to get less, and you get over these walls, these tough points, and then it gets easier and easier. But the initial learning curve is steep, so it takes some work, but you can do it. So you got to stay positive, and you got to have realistic expectations. You're not going to pick up a guitar for the first time and start playing songs. This is not going to happen. Nobody's just walked up to a guitar, picked it up, and played an F bar chord, right? Impossible. So you have to keep the expectations real, and you don't want to sabotage yourself. So understand that, yes, this is going to take work. This is going to take practice. I'm going to stick with it, stick through the hard stuff. And eventually I will be able to play songs. I'll be able to reach my guitar goals. And you set your goals on the instrument just like you should be setting goals in life, right? You set goals and you go out there and you achieve them. You can do it on guitar. It just takes, patience, it takes practice, and it takes some diligence and hard work. But you can do it. And we're here to help, right? And if you need help along the way, certainly you could drop us an email. We could recommend DVD courses that we sell, or we could recommend our online website, or we could, if you're having a problem with something, shoot us an email. Let me know. I'll put some links in the text box below this video. For instance, if you're having trouble with your bar chords, right, or you're having trouble with your strumming and rhythm, I'll put some links to some free videos that we have that will really help get you over those humps. So be sure to check those out. And if you can, please subscribe to this channel. That really helps us, and it helps us to keep bringing this content. Put a comment in the comment box below. Let us know what you would like us to do when we do these kind of talk gab sessions. Let us know what questions you have, or maybe you have a beginner mistake that you made, perhaps, that you think by bringing it to light will help other people, because that's what this is about, right? And put that in there, because these are 13 of them I have on my list. I'm sure there's a lot more, and some I'm forgetting, so throw that down, because people read those comments and it might help somebody else. And that's what this YouTube exchange of information is all about, helping people and having this back and forth dialogue and exchange. So, but subscribing to that channel and leaving a comment will certainly help us out a lot, and we would appreciate that. Another mistake I see guitarists make, and this is for not just beginners but a lot of guitarists, is overload of information, trying to take information from too many sources. And that is an easy trap to fall into, because, man, it is so awesome that we have the internet to help us learn, right? No matter what we're trying to learn. You can just dial it up on YouTube, or get a video on internet, or read about it on, whatever online. But when you spend so much time doing things like that through so many different sources and so many different teachers, and it can be, first of all, overwhelming, and it provides so much information overload. You reach that kind of point of negative returns. That's like kind of like diminishing returns when you have a glass of water and you fill it up, right? No matter how much more water you put into that glass, it's just going to overfill and fall out. That glass is only going to hold so much at any one time. Same thing with our abilities and our brains, especially when we're learning an instrument. You fill that up with information and you work it, you keep pouring stuff in there, it's just going to bounce out, right? We reach that saturation point, we get good at it, then we move on. I'm not saying just work on one thing at a time, but I'm saying just don't fall into the trap of just constantly watching videos and just constantly spending so much time. Keep it regulated. Maybe spend an hour looking at new stuff or watching gear reviews. It's just very easy to fall into that trap of just sitting there and just watching, and before you know it, 2-3 hours are gone, right? Well, you could have been practicing, right? You could be working on your chord changes, your strumming, your rhythm, your techniques. So, just be mindful that of information overload, right? And schedule out your practice time. That's another thing I do too. I when I want to do things, I write them down, in my daily log, and I have practice time right now. So I know when that time comes, I know I'm practicing. I write out when I'm going to the gym. I know on a certain day, oh, I got to hit the gym. I schedule it. Scheduling it makes it happen more for me anyway. And I think it's a good model to follow, because between that certain time during the day, it's right there. This is what you're going to be doing. Another thing a lot of students, especially early on, don't do enough is tune their guitar. You want to make sure your guitar is tuned when you're playing it. So get yourself a good electronic tuner. You can get one for 10, 15 bucks and use it. Eventually, you're going to get to the point, use the electronic tuner at first, but you'll get to the point eventually where you'll be able to tune by ear, and that will come with time. But playing out of tune is going to make your chords sound awful. It's very unmotivating and not very empowering, because your guitar just doesn't sound good. And this is about the sounds, right? Creating these sounds, making these sounds, playing these sounds, right? So very important. Tune your guitar every time when you pick it up. If you're practicing once or twice a day, at each time, just real quick, just takes a few minutes. Tune that guitar up, keep it in tune. Another mistake beginner guitar players make that I see is they're not giving themselves enough fun time on the guitar. It's all work, 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 and eventually it feels like drudgery because they're not experiencing the joy of the instrument. This is all about fun, right? This instrument will bring you joy for the rest of your life, right? So make sure you give yourself plenty of fun time on the guitar. You don't always have to be doing work or practicing your routines or practicing from your practice book, right? You should have some time where maybe you just sit there and play some songs, or sit there and maybe jam with some friends, or sit there and just noodle around or try to create an arrangement. It's an incredible instrument. You could sit down and no matter what your level, play a few chords in a certain way or combinations and create this piece of music that's never been played before in the history of mankind, right? Yes, it's the same 12 notes that's in Western music. Yes, most songs are only a few chords, but the way that you do it, create it and put it together and put your own spin on it, could be something that's different, right? That no one's ever heard, that's creative. And that's incredible. I still find that amazing after playing guitar for, 25, 30 years, right? So give yourself plenty of fun time on the instrument and explore new gear and explore all about the instrument and new bands and music, and find what you like and what sounds best to your ears, but make it fun. Because what I always say is, like, if it's not fun, why do it? I think that's about 10. I think we've had 10 of the 13 things. Another mistake, I guess this would be 11 or so, and again, these aren't really in order. Another beginner mistake I see a lot is students not using the proper fret hand technique. That will really hold you back, because if you're not fretting chords in the proper manner and your fundamentals aren't solid, it's going to make moving forward on the instrument incredibly difficult, because if you don't have that right technique for your fret hand, you're not going to be able to change chords in time. You're going to be stumbling. Your strumming's going to be going faster than your fret hand can catch up. So it's very important that you're using the proper techniques and the easiest techniques possible. I have certain techniques that I've taught my students for years that makes chord changing so much easier. That makes strumming so much easier. And again, I'll put a link in that text box below to some free video lessons where you can watch that. And even if you feel your fret hand technique is okay, you might want to watch a video, because you might pick up a couple little tips that really make, and it's amazing when I see the light bulb goes on with students, when I see they're maybe doing something that could be done a little bit more efficiently or better, and they're like, wow, that makes such a big difference. These little adjustments that you could make a huge difference, especially early on, and that difference can keep you from playing a song properly and in time, and not playing the song properly and in time, and not making a certain chord change or getting there in time, because it can get frustrating for sure. It's a frustrating instrument. It's challenging, right? So, I've developed these techniques over many, many years of teaching, and I've taught such an array of students from beginner, intermediate, advanced, that, I really can see, what students gravitate towards, what students uptake the quickest, because I want to get students playing in the fastest and most efficient manner so you can start having fun, right? So make sure you're using that proper fret hand technique. Two other kind of quick things students I see doing improperly or things that they can be doing better from the start, or things that will help them, is one is when you're first starting and you're playing, most students strum way too fast. Strumming too fast. I 95% of the students I teach beginner guitar to, I have to constantly tell them to slow down. And I think that's just something naturally. We get excited, we want to learn, and we start strumming really fast. But remember one thing, the faster you strum, the faster you're going to have to make these chord changes. And if you're just learning, these chord changes take a while to get down and to hit in time. So you want to really slow the strum down and give yourself more time to make that needed change. So remember, really work at slowing the strum down. Slower and accurate is so much better all the time than fast and sloppy. So slow down. And something else that I find with students is when you're first starting, especially, get yourself some picks that don't slip in your hand. A lot of beginner students have trouble when they're strumming. The pick is constantly moving in their hand. So that's an easy fix. Just go to a music store and get picks that have grips on them. Dunlap makes them. Dava Pick makes some kind of cool picks with grips. There's lots of picks with raised letters. Some pick companies put holes in the pick, so pieces of your thumb kind of go over, and it kind of keeps the pick from slipping. So don't just get just those celluloid picks at the beginning. Remember, this is when you're starting, or picks that are smooth that are going to slip. Get them with the grips with raised letters, something that's going to hold that pick in your hand. It makes a big difference. All right, we're getting to the end of our list of 13 beginner mistakes, or 13 things that students maybe can consider, to make their guitar journey go a little bit easier, right? A little bit more efficient. Remember to, like I said before, patience is a big thing. You have to be patient with this instrument. It takes time, especially early on. It takes time to get over the physics of the instrument, right? It takes time for the fingertip soreness to go away. That's a big issue. So what you might want to do at first, don't have marathon sessions playing where you play for like an hour or 2 hours straight, because the next day the tips of your fingers will be so sore you won't be able to play for a couple of days. At first it's best 20 minutes, a couple times a day, right? And then slowly bring that number up. But until the tips of the fingers, you'll see they'll start to rip a little bit, right? You'll get a callus on them. That skin will rip, and that's what you want. You want to see that skin ripping. That's like a merit badge, right? Because that means when that skin rips and comes off, the next layer underneath it's going to come back stronger. Okay? So it takes time for that, but everybody goes through that. Everybody goes through the fingertip discomfort and the wrist. A lot of times the wrist will be sore because, again, you're putting yourself in these finger positions that perhaps you're not used to. And I'm not saying you should experience big pain. Big pain means stop, something's wrong. But some discomfort is normal, and you will get over that. It just takes time and patience, and stay positive. And the last thing I'll mention real quick is that, the attrition rate for instruments in general is very high. A lot of students try a certain instrument and then quickly they put it down. And I think some of those reasons are because some of the things we talked about, unrealistic expectations, right? Because it takes maybe a lot more work than they were ready for. Maybe the instrument just isn't for them and they want to try a different one, right? But sometimes consider the fact that it could be maybe you don't have the right teacher. And there's a lot of mediocrity in the teaching world, in my opinion. I think teaching is an art. And I think just because somebody plays the guitar really well doesn't necessarily mean they can teach really well, because that takes a whole nother skill set. So it's possible. And a lot of times early on, students are very motivated. Students are very empowered. So they will practice, they will go. But if they don't have that structured plan they're getting from their teacher, and they're just spinning their wheels and they're not making any progress, they're going to put the instrument down. So you might not have the right structured plan or the right teacher, because early on it's like, there really aren't any. If you're practicing the right things and you're working hard, you should see progress and you'll be able to play, right? Early on, it's like teachers say, student do. So there's really not necessarily bad students. It's more like bad teachers, unless you're not practicing or being honest with yourself. That's different. So consider the fact that maybe it could be the teacher. Maybe not, but it could be, because there are a lot of teachers out there, like I said, a lot of mediocrity. So consider that, and certainly consider that before giving up the instrument. And I have a whole other video. I'll put that in the YouTube text box also, on how to find a qualified private instructor if you want to take private lessons. And watch that video too, because that will really help you ask the big questions and know what to look for, because this is new, right? Something that if you're just starting to undertake, and you want to make this process as easy, as most efficient, and less frustrating as possible. All right, there's 13 things that I think we can consider, and that will hopefully help you along in your guitar journey. So again, please subscribe to the channel. That really helps us. And also check out some of those links in the text box below. Sign up. I'll send you free lessons, free ebook with a wealth of information. It's free. You might as well take advantage of it. Consider our curriculum. We have a full-on video instructional website, nextlevelguitar.com. It's amazing. It has over 1,850 video lessons, jam tracks, chord library, tons of great stuff, articles, and growing. We add stuff all the time. Students all over the world learn how to play or get their skills to the next level by going to that website. And there's a 3-day free pass right on the homepage. You could try it out, give the site a test drive for 3 days, right? There's 2 big beginner sections too if you're a beginner player, which is quite awesome. So check out the website. Leave a comment below, right? Maybe give us a thumbs up if you like this video. Write in your questions, right? Let me know what you want, what kind of videos you'd like to see, what you'd like to learn. Add to this list. Let's get that exchange of information going, right? I'm down for it. Let's do it. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks so much for your support over the years. I'm David Taub, co-creator of Next Level Guitar. You are the good people. Stay positive. Remember, your playing is an evolution. All right? Have fun. And keep on rocking. We'll see you next time.